I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about toddlers and how to teach toddlers to listen. Toddlers have limited vocabulary and they are distracted easily. So sometimes they struggle to listen. I know that can make people very frustrated, but in this video, I've got some solutions for you. There are some key things that you can do to help your toddler listen more to you. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you multiple things that you can do to help your toddler want to pay attention. I teach self-government. This is a type of parenting where parents and children all learn the principles and the skills of self-government. So it's super important to understand what self-government is as we're embarking on this topic of teaching toddlers. So self-government is being able to determine the cause and effect of any given situation and possessing a knowledge of your own behaviors so that you can control them. So this would mean that even toddlers start learning how to analyze themselves and how to make corrections with themselves, how to self-assess and self-adjust. So in order to teach a toddler how to listen, they have to know the difference between not listening and listening. I know that we try to tell them the difference by saying something like, "You're not listening to me," and that we hope that will make them choose to listen. But that might not be direct enough, and it might not even be connective enough. In order to teach anyone, you need to connect. All learning comes through relationship, but especially with toddlers, we want to definitely bring the attachment and the bonding into all of the teaching moments and all of the corrections. A child should feel like they gained something from a correction, and especially that they felt closer to you because of being taught or being corrected. That is at the root of self-government, and a lot of that has to do with focus and calmness. Now I know focus for toddlers, those words don't seem like they even go together, but you can teach a child how to focus in on what you're saying. I have to tell you a story from my life. When my daughter, she's my second child, when she was probably about 3 years old, I was worried about her hearing. I would say her name, I would say, "Paige, Paige, Paige," and she would just keep playing as if nothing was happening. She was totally tuning me out. Now, Paige would tell you that she thinks she probably has ADHD because she can focus in on something so deeply that she does tune everything else out, but also she can get so distracted, and obviously those are signs of ADHD. But we never considered that at the time. We just thought maybe something was wrong with her hearing. So I took her in for a hearing test. And when we did the hearing test, they played different sounds for her to see what her reactions were, and she scored perfect on the hearing test. In fact, the person doing the hearing test looked at me and smiled and kind of shook her head, and she said, "Your daughter has perfect hearing. In fact, maybe better than perfect hearing." And I said, "But she doesn't listen to me. Even when I call her name, she doesn't listen to me." And this professional looked at me and she said, "Well, a lot of parents have that problem, and it has nothing to do with the hearing. So she'll be fine with her hearing." And she just kind of chuckled, and we left. And I thought, what am I going to do about this? How am I going to help Paige decide to listen to me, especially when she's so easily distracted and she can hyper focus in on stuff, which then also presents itself as another distraction. I thought, she's just having selective hearing. She doesn't want to hear me. But that wasn't true either. It wasn't that she didn't want to hear me or that she was trying to control me, although sometimes that can happen. Sometimes toddlers can learn to manipulate and learn that if they pretend they don't hear you, that they don't have to be corrected or be taught by you. But mostly toddlers are just busy in life. They're just moving from thing to thing. They're problem solving. They're learning. Life is exciting. And so sometimes, because of that excitement, they end up not paying attention to us. So I have some key things that you can do to help your toddler learn to listen. But before I do you see that button that says subscribe? Click that button now. That helps our channel, but it also helps you so that you get to see more videos just like this. One of the most important things that you can do to help a person learn to listen is establish a connection. So if the child will look at you, that's probably the best way to do it. In fact, I teach 4 basic skills for children. These children's books each teach one of the 4 basic skills, which are following instructions, accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and disagreeing appropriately. All of these 4 basic skills have skill sets or steps to follow the skills. The first step of every one of the 4 basic skills is to look at the person. This is just as much for the parent as it is for the child because it helps the parent remember they have to look at me, so that means I've got to go look at them. I can't just holler through the house when I need them to do something or not do something. If as a parent you get in the habit of looking at the person, looking at your child when you're talking to them and having them look at you, chances are they'll focus more in on what you're saying. But let's say your child has a hard time focusing while looking straight at you. Some children are like so focused in on you that they then can't hear anything, then it could be good to do some touch. Maybe you touch them on the arm, or maybe they put their hand on top of your hand. This type of touch is actually very effective for helping a person listen and focus on what it is that you're saying. Tip number 2 is keep it short. If you want your child to listen to you, especially your toddler child who has a toddler brain, which is very small, it won't fully develop until they're at least 18, but could be into their mid-20s, then you definitely want to not lecture. Keep the lessons quick. Try to use words that you have already taught them before. Now, obviously, we're expanding vocabulary all of the time with our toddlers, but with those 4 basic skills, there are certain words like calm face, voice, body, words like drop the subject, words like seek to understand, or words like look at the person, or say okay, or disagree appropriately. These are all words that show up in these skills. If they know those words, then when you are teaching them something, correcting them, telling them something, they will actually be able to focus in because they already know what you're talking about. So this brings me to corrections. Many times children choose not to listen when parents are doing a correction. And when you do a correction, if you want your child to listen and know what you're saying, even if they get distracted for a few seconds during the correction, then you'll want to use the same words every time. Predictable corrections, predictable praises, predictable pre-teaches help your child focus in more. They get the gist of what you're saying because they don't have to catch every single word in order to know. They already know the format. They know the skill that you're using. They now just need to apply context to it. That makes it easier for them. You'll get a lot better results if you use a script while teaching your children. I know many people don't like using a script, but let's be honest, you already have one. It might be a lecture-y type script, but you talk in a certain way every time they do that certain thing. Just program yourself to be more effective, and then they'll be more effective at listening to you. If you want your child to listen more, then have a cued practice time. So once you tell them to do something or not to do something or some skill that you're teaching them, have them repeat back to you what it is that you just told them. So now they have to recall it. That goes into a different place for memory in the brain and will actually help them focus in so that they really truly listen. You may want to pre-teach them ahead of time. I will be asking you after I tell you this if you can remember all the steps, and I might have a surprise for you if you can remember everything that I just told you right now. You might want to have listening practice every day, a time where the child focuses in on you and you have conversation where you listen to each other before you say anything. So no interruptions. You listen, you repeat back what the other person says, then you say something, then they repeat back what you said. That type of listening interaction is really great for children to learn to pay attention and not get caught up in their own heads. In fact, let's be honest, it's good for adults too. There are many adults who don't take the time to listen to others. You might want to also bring in some visuals. So maybe have a cue sign like listen. So you might say, look at the person, listen, and then start talking to them. Or you might have some pictures that you point to teach them. When mom is talking to us or dad is talking to us, we look, we listen. So there might be ears on the chart. We have a closed mouth, right? There might be a mouth that's closed. We might have our hands not busy. Those are all things that we can teach children. I know these are things that are done at schools regularly so that children have a visual of what's expected. When small children like toddlers have a visual, they're much more likely to follow through. Using hand signals is the quickest way to give a child a good visual. There are so many things that toddlers can learn. Some people think toddlers can't learn to listen. It's just above them. Or they think they cannot learn to have patience. They think they can't learn their letters or how to read. There are so many videos on this channel about toddlers, teaching toddlers things that many people think they can't learn, even things like disagreeing appropriately. Toddlers can learn that vital skill. If you have enjoyed this class all about teaching children to listen, then you'll probably want your child to learn to disagree appropriately. The disagree appropriately skill involves listening and actually improves listening, but that skill is best taught in another video. I have a full class about disagreeing appropriately called Full Class About Disagreeing Appropriately. I think you'll like that class next. Click on the link to that video now. I'll see you there.